Hey everybody, good afternoon. Along with Nathan Scott, I am Tom Brandon. Thank you for joining us on TH Weather Plus. Might as well call it Weather Plus. We've had a lot of weather these past few days. It should be plus weather. You're on THV 11 Plus, and we will be talking a lot about weather and the weather that is to come beginning Tuesday and lasting through early Wednesday morning. I feel like we just did this.
We did back in January, but this is a whole different type of storm
No, I
system.
did this Saturday with a different
severe weather.
It was severe weather.
80 degrees in Monticello, and we're just coming back with vengeance.
Yeah, and I guess the latest update is within the last hour or so, the National Weather Service has highlighted a portion of central Arkansas with a winter storm warning. Now, there's different criteria that is used when it comes to snow and sleet for central Arkansas compared to northwest Arkansas. They have different differences there as well. So we're expecting sleet here. And that I call it ice, although freezing rain, technically ice. It becomes ice on the roadways, messes up our drive into work and to school. But that's primarily what we're expecting here beginning Tuesday afternoon and lasting through Tuesday night.
Yeah, this is going to be a sleet event for a large part of central Arkansas. Maybe a little bit of freezing rain mixed in, but by far the snow, mostly snow, stays in North Arkansas just because we look at the temperature profile from the surface all the way to the clouds. So yes, we have the Arctic air seeping its way in right at the surface, but it's almost about like 5, 6, 7,000 feet in elevation. You run into just enough warm air. It's just above freezing, so the snowflakes, they melt, they freeze as they make their way as raindrops trying to push down to the ground, and you have those sleet pellets.
And if the column of air is thick enough and cold enough, sleet pellets, but if it's not, it maintains the little raindrop and becomes freezing rain.
Yeah, sleet's better than freezing rain.
I'll take it any day. Yeah, for a number of reasons. Number one, sleet bounces.
Yes.
Off of your power lines and your cars, but freezing rain does not do that. It likes to adhere. So we'll walk you through. We'll also get to that graphic in just a moment and explain how all that works, because we still have people that want to know the difference between sleet and freezing rain. It's just not going to be cold enough in the beginning stages of this for us to get all snow like it is in northern Arkansas and in northern Arkansas. Some of our northern Arkansas counties here are expecting quite a bit of snow out of this system.
Yeah, and that includes Benton, Washington, Carroll, Boone, Madison, Newton, Searcy, Marion, Baxter, Randolph, Izard, Sharp, Clay, Greene. All the northern 2 rows of counties will see some significant snow from this event, and right along the border of Arkansas and Missouri, Tom, I think some locations could come up with 10 to maybe as much as 12 inches of snow. Yeah. Because of the Arctic air, there's not so much moisture here, but with that Arctic air, we're talking snow ratios. 1 inch of rain equals 10 inches of snow on a typical basis when the temperature is around 31, 32 degrees. But temperatures in this part of the state tomorrow will be well into the 20s. So you're looking at 1 inch of liquid equals more 15, maybe 20 inches of snow. It'll be that fluffy, dry, powdery snow. So you won't be able to make snowballs or snowmen with it. Yeah. It'll be very easy to clean off.
Either way, I tell you, it's going to be an inconvenience. This is our second projected major winter storm that we've had. And I know a lot of people are ready to, me included, ready to transition out of this and get into spring. But unfortunately, once this gets out of the way, we've got cold Arctic air that's going to come and stay for a while. And that's going to cause this melt off during the day, refreeze at night, and that's going to happen for a few days leading up into the end of the week. Yeah. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the weather impact alert day for Tuesday and Tuesday night. Again, this is really what you can expect. Sleet here, maybe some freezing rain in the onset. Northern Arkansas, pretty much snow. It may be some sleet mixed in. Hazardous travel is definitely going to be a problem here in central Arkansas, northern Arkansas. And then dangerous cold is coming in on the heels of this system. Now let's talk about the breakdown of what we can expect here in Arkansas.
Like we said, Arctic air will be locked in place in North Arkansas, the Ozarks, not only at the surface, but all the way up to the cloud level. And that's why it's primarily a snow event or mostly a snow. It may mix with a little bit of sleet once you get closer to the river valley and outside of the mountains. So Clinton may see a little bit of sleet mixed in, but by far, this is where you're going to see more impressive snow totals. Then as you get closer to central Arkansas, Little Rock, Conway, Hot Springs, into Benton and Bryant, we're going to have, I think, quite a bit of sleet. There could be a little bit of freezing rain mixed in, especially into the Ouachitas. Looking at the latest data, that's where the bullseye is for the potential of maybe a quarter-inch of ice in some locations in the Ouachitas. But it's going to be the combination of sleet, a little bit of freezing rain, and then before it ends, I think it will change over to snow here in central Arkansas. So we'll have a trace to 1, maybe as much as 2 inches of snow on top of that bed of sleet, and then farther down to the south and southeast. It'll take more time for that Arctic air to reach that part of the state, and it may stay mainly a rain event if you're watching us in Monticello, Drew County, Deshay County, Chico, Ashley County, Bradley County. Before it ends, it could change over to a little bit of freezing rain, but I don't think the impacts will be near as great as what we're expecting for the rest of Arkansas.
Model trends have, looking at model after model after model of what's coming in, it seems like the snow gets pushed a little farther south in some regards, at least a lot more of the accumulating snow. Expecting sleet, I think in the onset I was, okay, this is going to be more freezing rain with a few sleet pellets mixed in. Now it looks like it's primarily more sleet than freezing rain. Not really thinking we're going to get much snow out of this until the backside of this system swings on through, but things could happen.
Yeah.
Things could change.
There's always a chance to bust here or there, especially when you're talking about the type of precipitation, because it's just 1 degree that makes a difference in whether we get sleet or freezing rain, or maybe it stays all snow. Maybe we'll see more snow in parts of the region that we weren't expecting.
Yeah. Either way, it's just going to mess up the roads.
It's not going to be a perfect forecast, but at least we get
yeah.
a 90%. That would make me very happy in our forecast.
All right, types of winter precipitation. You talked about this warm nose of air that's going to come in. All winter precipitation starts initially as snow, and if it maintains below 32 degrees to the ground, it's going to be snow. And then you get into the freezing rain and sleet. A little warm air here, but you get a larger column of colder air, sub-freezing air toward the surface, and it has time to refreeze into that little sleet pellet. Now, once it's a raindrop, it's not going to become a snowflake anymore. It's going to be one of those two varieties.
Yeah, and that's the situation we're looking at. It's going to be snow, well up into the cloud, and then once it hits this very narrow layer of warm air, that snowflake will melt, become a raindrop, and then that raindrop freezes as it approaches the way towards the ground. And it looks like, for the most part, we do have a fairly deep layer of temperatures 32 or below just past that warm layer. Ouachitas, maybe a different story. The layer of sub-freezing air is going to be a little bit more narrow, and that's why the raindrop will stay intact until it reaches the surface, hits the surface, it's sub-freezing, that raindrop freezes on contact, and that's when you have ice on the power lines, ice on branches, everything turns into an ice skating rink, including your front and back door steps or the deck, and you have to watch out for that first step.
And then I was kind of hoping for just all rain out of this. I can always hope and wish.
Yeah,
wish
doesn't look like that's going to be happening unless something drastic really changes.
So that we're going to have it all in Arkansas. You're going to have places get rain, some will get sleet, freezing rain, and snow. So it's
a potpourri of precipitation. That's what I like to call it.
You want to spell that? Okay, now let's break down the difference between sleet and freezing rain. And I've seen comparisons. The donut comparison.
Oh yeah, that's always a popular one.
The glazed donut, and then you got the sprinkles on top of it. But this is really what it is. Sleet is an ice pellet, and the difference between the two is it's going to bounce around, and that helps with trees and power lines. But if you get that glaze of freezing rain and then you get some sleet on top of that, that's going to add some weight to the power lines. I'm hoping for sleet, don't want the freezing rain for a number of reasons, but that's generally the difference. Freezing rain is nothing more than a raindrop hits the surface, it's sub-freezing, and it freezes.
So as an observer, you watch the temperature, because it could be 26 degrees and it's raining. And you're thinking, oh, this is just rain. And then you realize, no, it's freezing rain. Once you hit a bridge or overpass, you run into the potential of things icing over pretty quick. So watch the temperature closely as we go into tomorrow, because again, if it's raining and the temperature is 32 or below, That's not rain, that's freezing rain, and that's going to cause havoc on area roadways.
Yeah, and I know that RDOT's on top of things. They've already started the pre-treating process to make sure the big highways and the interstates are fine. But our biggest concern is getting out of our driveways, getting out of our neighborhood streets. And we always say if you don't have to get out, it's best to stay at home. We'll know more about school closings tomorrow. I think some schools have already called it for the middle part of the day or even early in the day. I think a lot of it's just going to depend on when this precipitation gets here, what type it is, and how fast it falls. Sleet can pile up on the ground in a pretty quick amount of time.
Yeah. And what we didn't mention is on the onset, there could be a burst of sleet that's quite heavy and maybe even thunder sleet happening across parts of the region. If you have thunder sleet, that can add up very quickly. So I do think some locations could get 1, 2, maybe 3 inches of sleet from this event.
And the National Weather Service, I think their criteria, if I'm not mistaken, it's a half an inch of sleet or an inch of sleet to equal that winter storm criteria for us.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it is. Let's start with snowfall. Again, big amounts could occur in northern Arkansas along the Arkansas-Missouri border. That's the bullseye spot, 6 to 10 inches. They were kind of ripped off in the last event back in January, so they're going to get all the snow this time.
Yeah, just because the Arctic air is locked in place, you're going to have those high snow ratios. And then also with the transition zone from the snow to sleet, that is a little miniature warm front for the most part in the upper parts of the atmosphere. That can create more lift and enhance bands of snow in that part of the state. So yeah, 6 to 10. Some locations could end up with 11 or 12 right along those border counties of Arkansas and Missouri. But there is a huge difference traveling from Mountain Home to Little Rock. If you take that drive, you might notice Little Rock may not get much of anything in terms of snow. There's a possibility it could stay all sleet and we just get a little dusting of snow. So big transition zone from central Arkansas versus the Ozarks, the Boston Mountains, and especially right along the border of Arkansas and Missouri. And then down to the south, because mostly it's going to be rain, El Dorado, Camden, Monticello, southeast Arkansas, that could mix over to a little bit of freezing rain before the precipitation moves out and it's all said and done.
Yeah, notice that big change. You've got a trace to 2 inches in the blue area here. That does cut through Faulkner County, Conway, White County, northern parts of Lonoke County. But after that, it just really increases the amounts toward those northern couple of rows of counties. And it could, and again, it could shift a little bit farther to the south. These forecasts are never, ever, okay, cut and dry, this is it.
Yeah.
They always change, and they usually change up to the day of the
And a
precipitation
huge
event.
difference between Little Rock and Searcy. As you drive up 67, 167, it's going to be maybe not too much in downtown Little Rock, and Searcy could see 3 or 4 inches of snow because they'll see most likely less in the form of sleet.
All right, let's talk about the sleet forecast, something that's of concern for about that central third of the state. 1 to 3 inches of sleet, thunder sleet, can come down pretty heavy at times.
Yeah, looking at all the information, I'm seeing it's going to be a sleet situation, not so much a freezing rain until you get into the Ouachitas, into Montgomery County, Yell County, potentially into Garland County, but there's going to be a solid area of, I think, at least 1 to 2 inches of sleet. But some locations, you get a burst of some heavier bands of sleet. 3 inches will be a possibility. And then on the outskirts, just because the transition zone from the sleet to the snow, where that sets up, trace to 1 inch going through Pope County, Conway County, also into northern Faulkner County, White County, and then down to the south. Just depends on how fast that transition happens.
What is the most sleet that you've ever seen fall with a winter storm?
I think what happened back in 2021, the first system, it was like, there was one system, we stayed at the hotel downtown.
Yeah.
We were expecting freezing rain, and it was all sleet. And it was a lot of sleet.
Yeah.
And it was thunder sleet at night, because I remember waking up, I'm like, is that lightning and thunder? But yeah, that was a lot of sleet. I've never seen that much sleet before, and it was inches of sleet.
Yeah, that's the problem heading into tomorrow. And of course, the thing nobody wants, the freezing rain or the ice forecast. When you talk about the Ouachitas again, there's that 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain, maybe a glaze to 5/100 of an inch here in the central part of the state.
And the key here is any bit of ice, whether it's a glaze or not, with the temperatures well below freezing, that's going to cause problems on the bridges and overpasses and any untreated road surfaces whatsoever. Any untreated surfaces, steps, decks, You just got to be careful walking out. Now, in terms of power outages and stuff like that, we have to get at least a 1/4 inch of ice, because once you reach that threshold, then the potential that you could see some power outages starts to go up. What we haven't mentioned is it's going to be windy out there. There's going to be a stiff wind coming in from the east northeast as high as 20 to maybe 30 miles per hour. So a 1/4 inch of ice, you're going to run into some power outages if that does happen. Also, with this dry, powdery snow, there's going to be some drifts. And there'll probably be some drifts in North Arkansas, maybe, I would say, 2-3 feet high in some locations.
Really? Okay.
You get a foot of snow, you're going to have a drift probably that high.
Yeah. So all of it is just going to create this mess on the roadways, and I'm sure that we'll hear from the schools and they'll decide to call it quits. Some of them are kicking around the thought tomorrow, but certainly Wednesday morning will be the telltale sign. How much did we have and what do the roads look like? And oh, by the way, speaking of freezing rain and ice, there is not a bag of ice melt to be had in Central Arkansas. I have tried and tried and tried to find some, and it's at a premium right now. So you could use kosher salt if you have enough at home to melt things away.